Right now, Norm Bauer is with us. Norm is from Davenport, and he's the author of Swimming Just for Laughs. It is a collection of funny stories about swimming. Now, how funny can swimming be? That's what I want to know. And I thought, now, of any sport, you wouldn't pick swimming out as being a funny sport. But then I got Norm's book, and I can't believe the hundreds of different stories that are out there. Norm, welcome to WHO Radio.
Thanks, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sure you hear this from other people, that they don't picture swimming as being a funny sport.
Well, I guess the basis, though, for a lot of these stories is the scantily clad nature of swimmers, so funny things can happen with or without the clothes, and there have been a few instances where you started out with a suit, but you didn't necessarily end up with a suit. So that I did tend to get a lot of those stories. I didn't include them all in the book, but
you have a variety of types of stories, anywhere from little kids to coaches to professionals even.
Right. The way I started out, the whole concept of the book was that, the idea literally woke me up in the middle of the night. I said, I know there are a lot of funny stories out there. I just got to start looking for them. So I went to swim meets and I interviewed people and I wrote to some celebrities thinking if I got a variety of age groups and backgrounds that would make a marketable book and a little more interesting, because it couldn't be just about competitive swimming. People do it for recreational purposes or for therapy or a lot of different reasons, just to relax. It's not all about swimming down faster than the other guy. Sometimes it's just to have a good time.
So you are competing in the Iowa Games today.
Right. I've been active in master swimming for about 25 years. I'm 46 in another week, and I've lived in several different states, and the master swimming program was developed probably about 25, 30 years ago, and it's just taken off nationwide. There are few 100,000 swimmers actually who compete at different meets around the nation and around the world. There are teams in most major cities, college towns with a swimming pool or YMCA, and it starts from age 19 through 100. I read a record book last year for swimming, and there is a men's record in the 50 freestyle for 100 and up.
Wow.
So there is no limit to it. It doesn't have to be a very fast time.
And swimming is one of those few sports where anybody can compete at any age level.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's like 8 and under is the basic minimum group, and you wouldn't want to start your kids racing, before they're developmentally ready. But I go to these swim meets, and there'll be some guys right out of college, and there'll be grandmas and grandpas, and it's really good to see those people who are out there. There's not this big self-consciousness that you might think. A lot of fitness workouts tend to, you got to have this gorgeous body to really feel good about it. But at the Masters meets, you will see all shapes and sizes and all ages, and I like the universality of it that way.
So when you go to the Iowa Games today, you're going to be competing in your age category?
Right. I'm in the men's group 45 to 49, so whereas I may be in a heat with men and women of different ages, by the computer, I'm kind of fished out of each event, and they'll determine where I finished.
And then how do you usually do?
I do pretty well. I'm a backstroker, and I do the IM, and I'll do 7 or 8 events today and then tomorrow. And I usually go in with some hardware, even some gold stuff.
Wonderful.
So
Congratulations.
Nice. Yeah.
Norm Bauer is our guest. The book is called Swimming Just for Laughs. It's a collection of funny stories that people have told about swimming experiences. Norm, folks are going to want to know what's funny about swimming. Tell us what's so funny about it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. One of my favorite stories, I've got a couple I'll relate right now. One came from a guy, maybe 50 or older. He'd swum for Illinois State back in the 60s. And the swim coach there was this just bear of a guy. He had himself been a football player, but he was in charge of the swim team in the 60s. And his coaching was not like it is now. There are more fine points to it nowadays. This guy believed in all-out training every day, all the time, right up to the meet. And he treated his team with a lot of bravado. I guess he was really on them all the time. Well, and they did real well. This one year, they went through all their dual meets undefeated, and they responded to this kind of coaching. They got to the conference meet and did real well in that too. And this one guy on the team said, "Okay, if we win this today, we're gonna throw the coach in the water. We got to celebrate it the right way." And so as the meet turned out, they won it. They grabbed the coach, they throw him in the water, and then they realized this guy doesn't know how to swim.
Yeah, he couldn't swim.
He's flailing in the water, and he's such a moose of a guy and so proud. They get him out. I mean, they save his life, but then he gets out and he acts like nothing's even wrong, and they never acknowledge it. No one's going to point it out to him.
You have kids' stories in the book. You have a whole chapter of kids' stories.
Yes. One came to me from a friend. It's about her family in Indiana going to a resort, and she's sitting on the edge of the pool watching her dad kind of mess around, and this friend's mother was in the pool holding 2 little boys that she was trying to keep track of, and the dad was being ornery and kind of poking at her under the water and just being silly. And while that was going on, another woman got in the pool and was wearing the same colored swimsuit. Well, all of a sudden, this other woman is squealing because she's being poked too, and the girl figures out. Oh, and so the man comes up out of the water and realizes what he's done. He's so embarrassed. He's just humiliated. And my friend said that he spent the rest of the day over on the edge of the pool on a deck chair with a towel over his face.
I bet. So some of these stories are from people you know, and then others, how did you collect them?
Right. Well, as I say, I kind of did a letter writing campaign. There is a directory of celebrities at the library. You can go and get that. And I got some famous swimming names as well as some Hollywood types who I thought, because of roles in movies or TV, might contribute a swimming story. I knew Katharine Hepburn had been a lifelong fitness swimmer. And so I wrote her, and I actually did get a letter back. I was thrilled, but all it said was, Miss Hepburn regrets she has no funny stories to share.
Oh.
So it broke my heart, but I do have a letter from Katharine Hepburn, so that was exciting.
Now, what about President Reagan? We had a guy on a couple weeks ago who told us that President Reagan had saved, what was it? He was a lifeguard in Illinois and saved like 70-some lives there. I mean, an incredible swimmer.
I tried to get something from him as well as even the current president, thinking, celebrity would sell. Celebrities tend to be insulated from the rest of the world. Their agents and their staffs cut them off.
But you did get some big-name swimmers, some Olympic competitors.
I did. Rowdy Gaines, who now does commentary for NBC during the Olympics, he wrote back. He'd had an unfortunate instance where he's in and out of his suit so often in his training clothes during a meet and during practices that it's just second nature to grab it and run. Well, he was out on the deck, and he took off his sweatpants, and he's standing there for just a minute, or not a minute or two, a few seconds, and he realizes he doesn't have any swim trunks on. And he said that the woman who noticed, Tracy Calkins, actually set a record. She witnessed it, and she set a world record the very next event. So he said he wanted some of the credit.
He spurred her on. That's
yes, right. And her words to him were something like, "Don't worry, Rowdy, it's no big deal."
It's News Radio 1040 WHO. This is Stephen Winsenberg on the weekend. And you got some interesting stories about coaches, I thought. I think the ones I enjoyed the most were about coaches. I'm not sure why, but coaches are just a different breed, aren't they?
Well, they are. It's their own culture, and they play by their own rules. One guy said he had a set of twins and another little boy from the same family who it almost looked like a set of triplets. And in that particular age group, he was short of swimmers. And so one day he actually ran a three-man relay. He just let one of the boys go twice, and they looked so much alike that the officials were totally confused because they were running all over the deck, and that didn't work either. So another guy said he witnessed a race where a swimmer did a 200 individual medley, which is kind of a demanding event. You start with 50 fly, 50 back, 50 breast, 50 free. And this particular swimmer had his swim cap on, and as soon as he took his dive in, his cap flipped down over his goggles. So he literally had to swim it almost blindfolded. And the guy counted his strokes, and he did hit the ropes a little bit, but he didn't hit the wall, which was amazing. I mean, I don't know how he kind of sneaked a peek, but for a guy to do that successfully.
I was amazed. You had a couple stories in there about swimmers who didn't know how far they had gone. They hadn't figured out how many laps they'd gone or something.
Right. Well, some of the distance events, if you're doing the 1,000-yard swim, it's 40 lengths in a 25-yard or meter pool. And it's tough. I know the monotony of swimming can get to you. You're either singing a song in your head or you're thinking about the grocery list or something. It's tough to only think about your swimming. Therefore, you lose count. I'm more a wordsmith than a counter anyway, so I always have trouble. And there have been a lot of instances where people did either too many lengths or too few, and there are counters, people with these little plastic numbers at the end that are supposed to help you out. In fact, that's one of my other favorite stories. This one guy had a counter who he didn't know, a senior citizen, kind of just not really paying attention that closely. He said, "Yeah, I'll watch out for you." Well, in the course of this long race, the guy is always late flipping the numbers. So, and sometimes he would do it, sometimes he wouldn't. The guy noticed that the numbers didn't change sometimes, and finally, the guy actually dropped the number counter down in the pool so that he wasn't able to count at all. Well, the guy goes and gets one of those shepherd's crooks, and he's trying to fish out the counter, and he hits the swimmer 2 or 3 times. So it just really got worse and worse for that guy.
This book is filled with stories. It's called Swimming Just for Laughs. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines because Norm always loves to collect swimming stories. So if you have any funny swimming stories, anything from the kids to something that happened to a family party, could be something you did in college or high school. He's got plenty of that type of stuff, and he'd love to hear more of them. It's Winsenberg on the weekend. This is Stephen Winsenberg. We've got some funny stories from listeners. So, Karen, you're up first. Hi, Karen. What's your swimming story, Karen?
Well, we were down swimming in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'd never swam in the ocean before, and I happened to have a two-piece suit on. The wave came in, took my top up, the wave went out, took my bottoms down, and I was so embarrassed.
Oh, my gosh. So did somebody bring you a towel or what?
No, I just pulled myself together real quick
And walked out.
Yep. Never went back in.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks.
It's amazing how many of these stories are like that. Let's see, we also have another Norm Bauer on. Is this really another Norm Bauer?
This is indeed another Norm Bauer. I don't know if I'm talking to myself.
That's
perhaps.
amazing. So Norm Bauer, the phone caller, why don't you tell us your story?
Well, when I was in college, which was many years ago, I helped earn my way through college teaching swimming and life saving during the summer, and also doing some teaching during the winter. But on one occasion when I was running a swimming pool, we had a big strapping fellow who decided to go off the diving board, and he told me he was going to do it, and I cautioned him not to because he couldn't swim a lick. And he went in, and so I had to go in, and it was quite a struggle. But while I was bringing him out, all of a sudden one of the other lifeguards saw my head come to the surface first, and she grabbed on to me and was telling me to be calm. I'm going to get you in. Just don't worry about a thing. Let me do all the work. And we eventually got the fellow to shore, but it wasn't quite as easy as it might have been if I hadn't had all that help.
That's right. It's funny. Thanks, Norm.
You bet.
It's Winsenberg on the Weekend on News Radio 1040 WHO. Janine, you're up next with our guest, Norm Bauer. Hi, Janine.
Oh, hi.
What's your swimming story?
Well, I have to tell you that I'm one of these people that was trying. I had never swam in a master's swim meet. I'd never swam in a swim meet before. But I decided that I'd come down to Des Moines one day and go to the Hawkeye Masters swim meet. And I got ready to go into the pool for freestyle, and they said it was 50 meters or whatever. I said to the girl alongside of me, now that's 10 times across the pool. And she said, no, that's 20. I said, oh, I can't do 20. She said, you can't scratch. So I went in. I did my 20. The girl kept flipping it over.
Wow.
Along about on 12, I decided, I'd just swim, like you said. I was daydreaming. I was just swimming. And so then I got done with my 20, and it was, competing not against my age, but against the clock.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, I get out, and everybody claps and yells, and I got a prize. I'd been in the pool all by myself, swimming back and forth and back. They gave me a prize for endurance.
That's wonderful.
I never entered another one.
Yeah. Thanks, Janine.
Come back.
Norm, real quickly in our last minute with you, you got into this because of what the coach did to you at your Notre Dame gym class when you were a freshman, very first class period.
Right. I went up there after a swim camp in the summer where a Notre Dame phys ed instructor had been in charge. So I'm on the deck the first day of phys ed class at Notre Dame, and I have it's a nude swim test. That's the way it was administered up there.
They make you go without any
400 guys
suit.
standing around the edge of the pool. We were not co-ed at the time. And all of a sudden he gets on the microphone and he goes, now, people try and fake us out during the swim test, and I need you to demonstrate the backstroke, and I'd like Norm Bauer to do that. So just out of the clear blue,
Wow.
I don't know anyone up there, and I have
How
to do this.
embarrassing.
Yeah, that was the...
So you have to have a good sense of humor after that experience.
Exactly. If you either it would have broken a weaker man,
That's
I'm
right.
sure.
So you've collected these stories, and the book is called Swimming Just for Laughs, and you are taking other stories now, aren't you? You're collecting more.
I do
Right.
plan to do a sequel down the road.
That's great.
Yeah.
Swimming Just for Laughs. And Norm, congratulations in competing today in the Iowa Games. We wish you the best of success. And thanks so much for stopping by. We didn't even mention that you actually work over at Palmer Chiropractic also. You're a communications specialist there.
Right.
Thank
right.
you so much for being with us.